Hello and welcome to episode number 5 of Indie Dev Life, the show where we try to give you an insight into the lives and experiences of indie game developers. On today's edition we have Thomas Noppers, game designer, artist and toy maker known for games like Penarium, Pimps and Vampires and Mutant Gangland, along with Michael James Short of Newmark Software, creator of Chrome Death. And together they are working on a secret project that they may reveal to us in this show. So let's begin.
All right. So who starts? Is it me, you, or Julian? Or how does this go?
Well, let's take it alphabetically.
All right, I'll go first then. So I'm Michael Short. I am the lead senior employee at Newmark Software. Thomas?
Hello, Michael. I'm Thomas. I am a game artist and game designer. And toy maker, and me and Michael are working together now on a secret project.
We are, yes, on a secret project.
Of which we may or may not reveal key details.
So where are you located at also?
Oh yeah, I'm in the Netherlands. That's a good question. Netherlands, Europe. It's a small country next to England. Should we count England as Europe still? Should we just, or is it just in the past? Is it over? You're
over.
Done. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's good. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Mountain Dew Kickstart.
Oh wow! Is that fresh? Is that sweet or salt?
It's 5% juice, so I'm getting my daily dose of vitamin C, so I don't get scurvy, which is very important to me here in Austin, Texas.
I'm having this one for when the going gets tough. And this one because I wanted to try out how it tastes.
Yeah.
And I got water for my throat, and
nice.
I got this jug.
So how old are you, Thomas, over in the Netherlands?
Over in the Netherlands I am 31.
31?
Yeah, 31. I think 30. I have to ask Elise. I'm not sure. I lost count. It's just after 30, it's just better to not keep track anymore.
Yeah, they don't put candles on the cake anymore.
No.
So what are some of your hobbies? What do you do over there?
Cool. I like toys.
Yeah.
I really like toys.
You're working on some toys
books.
right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I got these right here. It sounds so like, oh, how convenient. But I got these right here. This is one. I can't figure out where the webcam is. Everything is mirrored. Hold on. Yeah, this one right here.
That's awesome.
This is a prototype, and I'm also working for another developer to make this one. It's not glued yet, but
yeah, that's
it's
awesome.
It's a cat who wears a fedora.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I made that one earlier today. I put it together. And
I wouldn't have to do with, you're not allowed to talk about who that's for, are you?
I think so, yeah. I talked about it, and it's fine. But I like the mystery. It's a cat who wears a fedora. So, that's pretty much
that reminds me of one of my daughter's favorite games, but...
which is? What is
Cat
it?
on a Hot Tin Roof.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we love it. I backed on the Kickstarter, and I'm a big fan of that game.
You did?
Yeah,
cool.
I'm a big fan of all the stuff that Meg does. So the Fireman Jones game that she did before that was really awesome also. So.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I just played it, I think, for an hour or two, and I got stuck, which is my thing, getting stuck on video games. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool. But I think this is drift. My hobby. Okay, wait. Back on track.
Yeah.
Toys, video games. I want to say comics, but I read them not so much as I used to. I think. But it's very much in the mind, right? Yeah. Like, I like comics because I liked comic 10 years ago, and I haven't really read a whole lot new stuff since then.
Yeah.
But what are your hobbies?
Very cool. So, I like to play Destiny.
Oh, you do?
I spend way too much time playing Destiny every weekend, going to the Lighthouse 3 times a week, and playing PvP. I mean, video games for me, creating video games, making video games, are actually my hobby. So I have a day job, work 40, 50 hours a week. I'm a parent, I'm a husband also, but then video games and creating video games really are my hobby.
Cool.
Besides that, I love Legos. I am a city planner of a real life Lego city.
Yeah?
Yes, I also love toys very much. And then I skateboard.
You do?
Yeah, I used to skateboard, be an amateur skateboarder back in the day. And I skateboarded up until about 4 years ago where I got seriously injured. And so I haven't skated that much recently. But I'm starting to actually get back into it again now that the weather's getting colder here in Texas. So
Colder.
colder, yes, yeah, it's not 115 degrees. I also do a lot of like pen and paper D&D, run dungeon, and so for me, like being a dungeon master and running games like that is a lot like also creating video games, right? It's really creating a world or having a theme and allowing people to play within it. So why don't you? Oh, go ahead.
Well, this is like a possibly off-track question. It's a bit in the face, but I want to ask it. Like, so you like being a dungeon master, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you also a sadist?
No, not at all. And this is a really interesting thing. So when I came down to Austin, Texas about 11 years ago, I met this group of people, and I've played with them for 11 years.
Yeah.
And I am actually the youngest person of the group at a studly 37 years old, a very wise and mature 37. And our dungeon master is in his mid-60s, right? So he's retired, and he's played since the 70s. And like a lot of the mentality that he grew up with being a dungeon master was about, it's the dungeon master versus the player, right? So when we play in the game, it's a lot of like, the enemies are trying to kill you and you are trying to survive, right? Where I really grew up with a different mentality playing D&D in the 80s. It's like, we're all playing together, right? So we are all getting together on a Friday night. I am the dungeon master, but I am also a player in the game, and we're all there to be successful and to win, right? And have fun together. So when I run my games, it's not so much, I don't necessarily want to kill the player, right? I'm more of want to create like a really fun role-playing experience that we all work together on, and when we come out, it's all like a really fun bonding thing together as friends.
Yeah. I gotta say, I've never played it. I'm very curious after it. I'm also wary. Yeah. But a friend of mine, he just got like a big Dungeons and Dragons new rule book, and I think the second I enter his house, I'm gonna be trapped there, and he's gonna make me play it. So I'm very curious.
Well, it's cool. Like I got into Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s, and I actually kind of quickly switched over to Call of Cthulhu. So I started playing Call of Cthulhu in the 80s using the basic role-playing system. And I actually used to LARP Call of Cthulhu in the late 80s, early 90s. We would dress up like investigators and go out to abandoned places up in Michigan and stuff like that and do investigations and do stuff like that. Cool. So it's really kind of that like shared storytelling together. So cool. Well, I want to talk about your video game stuff specifically. So why don't you talk about how that kind of began, how you started doing video game design?
Thomas seems to have frozen.
I know. I didn't want to say anything. I imagine you can edit this out later, but
yeah, no
I think we lost him.
Oh, he'll be back.
That was Crash 1. I hope there's not going to be more.
No, you're good. So let's jump. Oh, go ahead.
My computer froze at the moment. Like, tell me more about.
Yeah, so that's a perfect segue. So I'll start right back up with. So tell me more about how you got into video game designing and how you got into making video games.
Okay. Is this part of the question list? That
yes. Yeah. So that's the first one. How did it all begin?
Oh, cool. Well, I really love football, and that's soccer for you, Michael.
Yes.
I really love it, and for a very long time, I didn't really know what to do what kind of school to do, what kind of job to do, and I never really ever considered making video games for a long time. And so I went to graphic design school, which is you just typography, making logos, interaction stuff, not particularly video games. Yeah. But by the time I did a graduation project, I just got the idea, like, well, back then I was like a hardcore, more just an artist, like dumb sketchbooks and 2D art, drawings, anatomy and stuff. And somebody asked me, like, well, would you like to design characters for a video game, like an MMO? We're gonna make an MMO with just 3 people.
Yeah. It's gonna be the biggest, best game ever. And by the way, we're not paying.
I really thought that. I was getting ready to get on the boat. That game didn't happen, but I made a lot of drawings. And then I was like, that wasn't even really the moment. I was like, all right, I could make art for video games, I guess. And then I did a graduation project, and that one was, so I had like this habit or a hobby as a kid of just getting on my bike and just driving around the city looking for places to play football. Like, because there's scheduled football with the clubs, but you never really know when groups of people decide to play sports. Right? Yeah. So I just looked around for new places to play football and around for new groups, and I felt like it's kind of cool as an adventure game where you play a kid and you're on your bike or you're in a new city and you discover new areas and you get to play football, which are like 2 of my hobbies. And I thought about making that as a game, and that game didn't really take off. But that was like the first time I thought, like, well, maybe video games are kind of cool to think about and to come up with. And I think that was like the first moment around 24, 23 where I thought, like, games are cool, man. Games are cool. Yeah. So what was the question again? Because I think this covers it a little bit, right? It covers
that definitely gets it. How do you get into it? So like when you started making video games, like, how did your friends and your family and everything kind of respond to that?
Oh, well, supportive, mostly supportive. I think like my mom and dad are just like, I remember being really obnoxious as a kid in school, really rebellious and like, everything's shit, everything sucks and fight the system. And I wasn't really performing well. Yeah. And, my mom took me to like a parents meeting or a council meeting, and like this school director was like, your kid is doing very bad at school, and when I tell him to design a new pack of butter, he thinks it's shit. And my mom was furious at me, and she said, like, well, I never had this chance as a kid because she just went to mom school, and I'm saying mom school in like a derogative way or like a bad way, but it was literally stuff you learn as a housewife. It's literally housewife school. Yeah. And that wasn't really what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a lot of stuff. One of them was a caretaker. Yeah. She still thinks that's really cool, caretaker or mortician. But she said, like, when I was a kid, I never had this chance, and the world is like open for you. And she said, like, well, whatever you want to do, I just support you, but you gotta do it. Yeah. And I think that's it. Most of them get it.
That's cool. I mean, did you have any interactions with like video games when you were young, kind of with that, or did you not come to video games till a little bit later in life?
Oh, I always played games. I remember the first time I got. Well, we never really had money. I'm not saying we're poor, but my family was, good with not spending money. Yeah. And I always went to like a toy store and I always looked at everything like, oh my god, there's this thing, there's that thing, and I always used to get like this Atari Jaguar, which had like that logo with the scratching cat. Games like, I think Alien vs Predator or Alien Predator or something. I was like, wow, this thing is cool, and I hope my mom gives this to me. And there was like this Nintendo next to it. It's like, I'm not even supposed to look at that. I cannot even dream of that. So that was like, oh. But I was like, Mom, we didn't do Christmas. We do another thing in the Netherlands, but it's just gifts and stuff. So it's kind of the same. And I was like, oh, Mom, I really hope I get an Atari Jaguar. And she didn't give it to me, but she did give me a big box. I was like, whoa, this is an Atari Jaguar. Wow, maybe this is it. And I opened it, and it was like an NES. Which,
nice.
Oh my God, my mind exploded, and I ran on the street like, ah! It's like those videos, of those kids that get stuff.
Yeah.
That was me, and from then on it was like Mario, Street Fighter 2. I really remember a lot. ActRaiser, which is like a game where you play an angel with a blade.
Yep. Oh yeah, I love ActRaiser.
You know that one?
Oh yeah. Like, so for me, I got a Nintendo. I mean, when I'm a little bit older, right? So like the first video game systems that I was exposed to was like Commodore 64s, ColecoVision, Atari and stuff like that. I remember when the Nintendo came out, it was a joint Christmas present. So we were like lower middle class, what you call like blue collar, right? Where father worked for the electricity company, kind of a lower middle class part of Michigan.
I think it's the same with us. So
yeah. And so like I would probably get one video game a year, like one Nintendo game a year. I'd probably get one for my birthday and one for Christmas. And so I would always ask like, oh, I really want Castlevania. All I want is Castlevania. And then I would get like Bible Adventures, which were like these bootleg games that were put out over here for Nintendo. Or I get that, or like the other kind of like Christian stuff, because my parents were heavily Baptist. But we had a kid down the street who was divorced, and I think we talked about this before, right? In some of our other talks, that you don't really understand it when you're young, what was actually going on in this kid's life. That he was actually going through this kind of horrifying thing where his parents were separating and he didn't understand it. But at 6, 7 years old, you don't understand that. All you understand is that kid has every single video game out there, right? And that kid gets bought everything he wants. And so everybody hung out at his house. Everybody go to his house, borrow his video games, and bring them back. And I remember that Bad Dudes. For some reason, I loved at the beginning of it that it did that I'm bad, and I thought that was the coolest thing. So I borrowed that from him, and I played that thing forever. But then we got a PC. My dad working kind of like engineering jobs, and I did a lot of PC gaming in the 80s. And it was a lot of like, unfortunately, I didn't realize this at the time, but it was a lot of piracy. Right? It was just, a guy at work would bring in a game to my dad, and next thing you know, we'd be bringing home floppy disks, right? And it's like, here's the new D&D Gold Box game, or, here's Shadow of the Comet, and here's kind of like stuff like that. So,
I think back then it was a big deal probably, but there's no shame in doing that as a kid, right?
Yeah, but it was weird. So, it wasn't me, it was, parents and everything. It was kind of this weird idea where one person at my dad's work, or one person somewhere, would send off down to Austin, Texas, and get this kind of floppy disk back in a bag with the instruction booklet, and then they would just all copy it, right? And everybody would, or bring it around and install it different places. So it was a different world back then.
Did they have like the printed stickers, or was it just literally with
yeah. Because this is like the Ultima stuff, and Might and Magic and things like that, where people were just making them themselves on discs and shipping them off. So do you remember when you were young, what like your favorite character was?
Ooh. Well, like you said like Commodore 64, like before I got the Nintendo, I used to, my dad, he brought like a computer he got from work, and it was like a Tulip, which is the Dutch brand, and it was a 468, which is like the real deal, 468. and I could never get the sound working. So the first 10 years or 5 years of my gaming life were with video only. The first game that I got sound was, you said Ultima. And one of the things that I really remember, it's not like really like a favorite character, but like a scene that really stuck with me, was like you see this hand coming out from the sky and it opens and there's a figure in it. I think that's what I think, and the voice says, "You have been a thorn in my side for far too long, Avatar."
Oh yeah.
That really stuck with me, and
all that Ultima stuff was. I mean, it was really good. And from that, I kind of went into Might and Magic and played a lot of Might and Magic. Pool of Radiance, I don't know if you ever played that, which was one of the D&D Gold Box games, was kind of super influential on me, along with like those Ultima and the Might and Magic games.
In what way? Was it like inspiring?
It was influential where it was, I would be playing PC games and I would see what my friends on Nintendo were playing.
Yeah.
Right? And there was a disconnect there because they would come over and see like, Pool of Radiance, and even for its kind of limited gameplay and everything, it felt a lot different, right? And it felt a lot like Nintendo was kind of this safe thing over here where we were making games that everybody was playing. My mom was playing it, everybody's family played Nintendo, they played Duck Hunt, they did stuff like that. And then over here you kind of had the PC where it was just like one or two guys who really didn't care about what other people were thinking, what other people were selling, and they're just like, I have this thing that I want to do, and I want other people to experience it. At the same time, playing a lot of like RPGs and Call of Cthulhu and D&D and Shadowrun and stuff like that back in the 80s, it kind of formed the same thing as like, I really kind of want to tell these stories, but I want these stories to really be a representation of me, right?
Yeah.
Is like you would play Ultima and you could see some of the creator in it, where I felt like a lot of Nintendo stuff or stuff that was more kind of safe for home consoles were more of these like commercialized packages that were there to get $1. And it is weird to think back about that's how I felt about things right back then. But you kind of looked at it and you were just like, I see how this is going to be popular for everybody, but I really love these stories and these things that are over here.
And then the fact that nobody backs you up on it kind of makes you conviction stronger, maybe, right? So
and I mean, like Pool of Radiance, which is one of my favorite games of the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, you start off and it's just like, who do you want to be? Create your classes, create your characters, choose their races, right? Like, if I want it to be all women, I can have a full team of like women barbarians and just go out and there do that. And that kind of freedom in the 80s for games, I thought it was really awesome.
Yeah, and I think like most of the Nintendo, like the NES games, 90% of them are platformers, and there was not a whole lot of stuff possible, I think. And on PC, it could just be anything. Could be anything,
Yep.
I remember being enchanted by an encyclopedia about dinosaurs, which played videos, and they were like this small on the screen. Yeah. And it actually had sound, and the dinos were moving. They were real actual videos. Yeah. And it was just magical, and you would never find that. But for me, I think I was not envious, but like more enchanted by stuff that other people had. Yeah. Like you talked about your neighbor, right? Yeah. Like the kid that has everything. My neighbor has kind of the same story, and he had like a Sega Mega Drive, which seemed like the coolest machine ever. Yes. And it looked so freaking cool. I still think just a joypad looks like a black boomerang of death in space, Yeah. And that was like, wow, the thing is cool. And I like everything that was on that was like some kind of, was just more edgy and more cool than what my Nintendo had. Yeah. And I remember one game is called Eternal Champions. Oh yeah, the fighting game. Hell yeah. That is so brutal. That is so brutal. Like the finishing moves where I don't know. I think there's one guy that's like a robotic mafia dude or something. Yeah. And like he can order a drive-by.
Yeah.
So like the car comes by and they shoot him like whoa, this is amazing. And I remember Pit Fighter.
Champions, like I would have loved to see the design sessions for that, where they all brought like their kids into the place and were like, okay, show me what's in your notebook. I want to see the cool drawings that you're making, right? And like the first thing you open up is just like this ninja mafia like cyborg from like the kids comics, and just like, all right, we're doing that. Kids are gonna love that shit.
And now that you mention it, it's like there's a lot of creative imagination, like a lot of like a juvenile energy, creativity in that game. Now, like there was like a dude with like a laser cyborg dude with like a cool glasses, and a wolf man with a club.
Yeah.
So yeah, that game is cool. We should look at that for.
We should. Yeah, I would definitely. Game. Yeah, next time we get together in person, we should definitely play some Eternal Champions.
Yeah, let's make some
That
notes.
would be fun.
That would be great. Yeah.
What is like? I think you talked kind of about like that youthful exuberance, right? And I mean, nowadays we'd probably look at that as like immaturity and everything, right? But it's just kind of this like wildness there. Is that kind of like the most memorable thing that you encountered in games when you were young, or is there anything that really sticks out for you?
Like a Planeswalker spark, like the moment?
No, not like a Planeswalker spark. But I mean, like, is there anything like, when you were young playing video games that really stuck out to you that you kind of carried forward when you make games yourself?
Wow. I should have read these questions beforehand, probably. Oh, wow.
I mean, I'll jump in on it, right? So, like, for me, kind of going back to, like, those PC RPGs, and, I was really into pulp sci-fi in the 80s. I didn't realize it was pulp sci-fi at the time, right? But reading these old it was these old, like, torn up and tattered novels, like Harlan Ellison. I read a lot of, like, Philip K. Dick. And stuff like that really influenced kind of my thinking going into the 90s and later in life. But like seeing Shadow of the Comet, seeing Neuromancer, I Have No Mouth, I Must Scream, like seeing these games come out and realizing that, oh wow, these came from literary sources, right? These came from these really great books that people just like me grew up reading, was really influential. And I also kind of took away, as I mentioned earlier, when you look at these games that were designed by 3, 4, 5 people, they were really putting themselves into that game. And so that's something that I've kind of taken away, in that every game I've done, whether it's a small 5-minute jam game, whether it's Chrome Death, a bigger game like that, or some of the PC stuff that I'm working on, there's always like a piece of me in there, right? There's something that is uniquely Michael that I can look at, I can be like, that's me. I live on in my creations. Yeah,
I think so. And you can see that, like some games they have like an authorship or authorship. And like did you see the new Kickstarter from Jay from Dropsy, like the Hypno?
Oh no, I haven't seen it yet.
You saw nothing about Hypnospace Outlaw, which
I've still been recuperating from PAX.
I remember. Oh, you don't have an eye patch no more.
No, my eyes healed up and it's not cursing people anymore.
Oh my god. What happened? Did the doctor give any conclusive information?
No, just I'm getting old and dying.
That's it. Step one.
Every breath I take is another step towards the grave.
Okay. Happiness. All right.
There you go.
All right. Yeah. You look cool though. The eye patch.
Oh, thank you.
It looks cool. Yeah. You were also next to the Destiny booth, right? At PAX.
Yeah, I was right next to Destiny. I posted on Twitter about this, and I think people probably took it the wrong way, but I was just had to stand there and talk to people, and the whole time I'm just like, what are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing over there in the Destiny booth? Like, I want to play some Rise of Iron. I would go over there. The show would start at 10, and I would get there like 15 minutes early. Like, can we play like the first game now? Can we just do a game real quick? And yeah, I'm such a fanboy. But anyway, go ahead.
Did you get to play?
I actually did not. No, I never got to play it.
Oh my!
I never got to play it.
Less spoilers for you. That's also nice.
Yeah. But you were saying, did you have any memories or kind of like anything that really stuck out from you from the games that you played that you've kind of carried forward at all, or?
I'm just gonna talk out loud. Think out loud, right?
Please.
I remember, like, I didn't
Hey, Thomas. I think we lost your voice.
Yeah, Skype does that sometimes. I lost you a couple of minutes ago, but we started Skype and it worked okay.
Okay. I think it's just funny. He's like, I'm going to talk out loud about this. And then it goes silent. I can't hear you, dude. Hey, you want to restart Skype real quick? We'll pick it back up.
Yeah, we should do that.
Okay. Go ahead and restart, Thomas. Dad had actually rented it and made a VHS copy, which was kind of rare back then. So we had this like beat up VHS copy that would kind of get passed around the neighborhood for people to watch when their parents weren't home.
Yeah.
Here, our parents watched it with us. Like, they enjoyed it as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. I had that happen with actually a friend of mine watched RoboCop. His parents let him watch RoboCop when he was really young, and he actually vomited at the beginning scene when Peter Weller like gets his hand and head shut up, and so his parents are like, "You aren't allowed to watch R-rated movies ever again," because he just like threw up all over the floor when he's eating cereal.
Oh my god! But that movie, it's kind of, that whole scene is just so bloody gross.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And if you look at the, I don't know how it is in America, but if you go to the video store,
Yeah.
you saw like RoboCop at the front, and then at the back you saw that scene with like the guy that was in the tank of ooze. And it was like,
that's in the second one. Yeah.
No.
In the
No,
first
that's the first one.
The
Oh
villain
yeah, at the
falls
very
in
end
loose.
where he
Then gets
Yeah.
splattered by the car.
And that was
Yeah,
like
so he got
a
hit by the car.
screenshot on the back of it. So it was kind of like a warning, like, oh, this is not just about robots, you know. It was
back
really
in the
cool.
80s, they would take the grossest things and put it on the box to
Yeah.
get you to watch it, right? Like,
Yeah, that was a selling point. That was definitely a selling point. And I think just Paul Verhoeven does that shit every movie. Every movie has some of those like, oh my god scenes, you know, just like cinema value. But
no, the second one was where he goes into the factory and there's that guy sniping him and he shoots him right through the scope and the guy like goes, ah, and then his eye is just like exploded on his face.
why are we laughing? Why are we laughing?
Because it's funny.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
it's funny.
No, those stories, like those scenes, they were like, the movies didn't circulate at my school, but like the scenes, like, oh, I know this movie where there's like this guy and he's like, they put a meat hook in his chin and then they lift up the hook and you got it. It's really gross, and everybody was talking about it. It was like a legend, but
Yeah.
And then later I saw that movie when I was like, I think it's like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. I think it's Kickboxer or Kickboxer 15 or something.
Yeah, or like Lionheart or something. Yeah.
Anything. But I saw it again. I was like, I guess it's rough.
It looks
You know?
so stupid nowadays when you watch it. There's a scene in American Ninja, I can't remember if it's the first one or second one, where like someone gets stabbed with a pitchfork. Is that the first one or the second or third one? And like you watch it nowadays and you can tell that there's just like a pillow on the guy that they're just like pushing into. But I remember back then just being like, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing ever.
I think my mom. No, my mom did not have a pitchfork accident. That was somebody else. It just gets woozy, but yeah.
All right, well, you want to jump back into it?
Yeah. What was it, like gaming moments or like?
Yeah, hang on, wait. I'm going to turn my recording back on. Okay, we're back going.
All right.
So yeah, what is the kind of memorable moment that you played in, your youth that you've kind of taken forward into your work later in life?
Ooh. Wow. Damn. Well, I like that I still get surprised by video games.
Yeah.
That like, wow, this moment is cool. Like, I like being surprised, but I don't think my games are full of surprises. But I like the things that stick with me now are memories of me not being as a kid, but like later on, like 20s, 25, 18, like really being blown away by new video game experiences.
Yeah.
And like I said, most of the NES games are platformers.
Well, were they experiences like a moment in the game, or were they like a mechanic, something that you did?
Oh, so like I got the NES. I liked it.
Yeah.
And I played. Like my dad would send me to bed before I could finish Mario, and then the next day he said like, I finished Mario when you were sleeping, and there's a dragon at the end of the level, and I'm still not sure whether he actually beat it or just made it up, but he was kind of getting into it. But like most of the NES games were kind of back then for me already kind of not magical. I don't know why. Like the moment with the Avatar, it just sticks for me. For me, feeling like pixel for pixel, sound for sound, stuck with me, and it was really like impressive. And then there was a phase where I got into video games just to get into a trance, and it was like when Wipeout and Raz came out on PlayStation 2, I think. No, Wipeout was PlayStation 1.
Yeah, Wipeout was PlayStation 1, Res was PS2.
And like the fact that you really could get in the zone, like with the music and the trance and doing the track just right, that was like a phase that I really wanted to like experience all kinds of games that really kind of messed with your mind. And Raz fell into that. And then what really stuck with me is when I played games that I just thought I wouldn't like.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really like racing games, and a friend of me showed Burnout, I think Burnout Revenge?
Revenge, yeah.
Takedown. Burnout Takedown? Is that a thing?
Burnout Takedown, yeah.
Yeah, and I never played a Burnout game before. My friend always tried to hook me on a Ridge Racer, which is like, nah. And then the other friend showed me Burnout. He says, "You're gonna like this." I said, "I'm not gonna like this, but I'm gonna humor you. Let's play it, killing time." Yeah. And I remember I was like, wow, this is fast. And then he pressed the boost button, and then it went like, and I was like, wow.
It has that effect where it kind of zones you in, right? Yeah.
The screen went like, and I was like, oh my, this is amazing. This is amazing. And I had the same thing when I played Fight Night for the first time. I mean, I liked martial arts and boxing and stuff, but I didn't think I would like Fight Night. And then I played Fight Night 3 for the first time, and it was...
Was that on Xbox 360?
Yeah, I think that was one of the...
With the dual sticks where you really, like, each stick was your arm,
Yeah, and it was a seller, and it was, I think it was like a launch title for PlayStation, for Xbox, or like...
Yeah, it was close to the top, yeah.
I played that, and it was so amazing. It's like, wow. And, wow.
I remember the market. It's really interesting, though, to kind of diverge in there a second. Like, do you remember the hype around, like, when they showed Fight Night before it came out? It was right when really, like, graphics, because we were making such big jumps with each thing, right? It was like, from the Xbox to Xbox 360, when that guy gets punched in slow motion, you see the sweat, like, flying and everything. Yeah. And I remember reading articles just, like, about the guy's sweat, right? And, like, the graphic fidelity of it. And it seemed a little surreal. It was, we're chasing this kind of, like, ghost of we want things to look completely real. But you never heard any good articles or anything about, like, the storytelling we're going to be able to do now with this new power or anything. It was always, look at the sweat from the football player. Look at the cloth.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
I guess that's like a graphic form of a sound bite.
Yeah.
Right? Like, look at this guy's sweat. We can do this now. That's.
And I understand it. I understand it from a technology perspective, right? Like, being a developer myself and working with people that work on those types of systems, like, when you can create the graphical prowess to do that, it is a triumph, right? And it's like the most amazing thing ever. But then for, like, the gaming press to also buy into that and kind of be like, this is the reason you want it, is because of sweat. I mean, think about all the launch games that got sold just because of their graphics, right?
Well, I think Fight Night, it's also like gaming is also like, there was like this really long phase where, like, this game is so cool, it's almost a movie, right? Like, you would kind of get like your movie was the Big Brother, and it looked like you could be almost like your Big Brother the movies, because you have cutscenes and like graphical stuff. And there were moments in Fight Night where it really looked like Rocky, like the punching and the slow motion and like all the cinematic effects. And I think for many people it was like, it's just like Rocky, man. It's just like boxing movies, you know? Yeah. That's kind of cool. Yeah. And
there's definitely an artistry to it, right? You know, I mean, you look back at this stuff now and it looks garish, right? Yeah. A little bit, because it's not like art design. It's trying to mimic the real world. But I think still at that time, there's definitely like a pageantry to the technology and the way that they, you know, design real life with it.
And I remember also being blown away by this, you know, this sounds weird, but like the realness of the sweaty backs of those guys. Like you saw that skin, and it was like like there was this gloss, and it was like sweat. It was like, wow, that looks so real, you know. But the fights, you know, in the end, I platinumed that game, or like the Xbox.
I think I did too. If I go back and check my gamer score.
Yeah. Also, that one was very easy to platinum. I think they gave 100 points.
Oh yeah, it had that was back when they had like 4 achievements per game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you make yourself sick playing King Kong. Okay, wait. Do you remember this? Wait, they might have not had this in the Netherlands, but Microsoft did a deal. I still have it around here somewhere. I would have to dig it up. I should have probably worn it. They did a thing where if you earned like 5,000 gamer score within a certain time, you get an Old Spice T-shirt. Did you have anything like that? Yeah, and like I actually won it. I did like King Kong. I did Fight Night. I did a couple other ones, and got like an Old Spice T-shirt. And then it's kind of just like, why did I do that? That was the dumbest thing ever.
For the first like year, or I didn't really know what the gamer point stood for, and I still for a long time I thought that you could redeem them somehow, and you could get movies, or you could just like air miles.
You redeem them for fame on the internet, though. I think that's what they're good for, right? I mean, like my gamer score is over 100,000, right? So I mean that definitely goes to how cool I am.
That's why we're friends, Michael.
I know. I put that on my online dating profile, like a picture of that.
Tinder Gold.
Yes. Why should you date me?
Look at my trophies, man.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
level 16. Yeah.
I got 1,000 gamer points in Open Season. I'm a great boyfriend.
What is Open Season? What is that?
Open Season was it was an animated movie that came out a while ago, and they made a game for it. And there's like 10 achievements in it, but it's like 1,000 points, and you can get it in like an hour of play. Just getting that, so.
They have these websites where they collect the games that are easiest to trophy, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know anything about those. I assume based on what you said. So
just heard it somewhere.
I heard it somewhere. That's right.
All right.
Let's pivot a little bit and talk about you and I working together. So we are currently working on a game together that we have not really talked about publicly. Do you want to talk a little bit about how we met and how we got started on that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I went to Austin.
Yeah.
To promote Penarium, which is one of the games I worked on as an artist, and
it's a great game, available on Xbox One, I think PS4, and also Steam. You should go get it. It's a great couch co-op game.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes.
That's
you can send the royalties later.
Yeah, it's a ringing endorsement. Thank you.
It's really cool.
I went to promote that game in Austin, which is also the first time I went to Texas at all.
Yeah.
I really liked Austin. Then you were across the booth, and I remember that you came up to me and you wanted to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of myself that I already knew your name. It's like, hey, you're Michael, and I'm very bad at remembering names. But that was, and then you were across, I think, just a few meters.
Yeah, this was at the South by Southwest Gaming in 2015. Yeah, early last year. And you guys were showing Penarium. You'd come over, and I think you were doing a tour, right, of the States. So you had been out somewhere else earlier to show it also, right? Yeah,
GDC we went to.
Went to GDC.
San Francisco.
Yep, San Francisco.
and then we went. I think just San Francisco and Texas, and I also saw a bit of Dallas, and then we did a road tour, which for me was like super cool.
Yeah.
Just like all the things going by, and and then.
Well, wait a minute. I want to point out, like when we were, so I was there showing Chrome Death at a very early state and showing Hyperemesis Pizza when it just came out. But then the day afterwards, you, me, and Elise, I took you guys kind of around Austin, right? And but the places we went to like Outlaw Moon, which is this really awesome vintage toy store here in Austin.
Yes.
And I think at that point we realized like how much of a love we both had for like old toys from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. I remember like talking to other people like, oh, you know, it's just like this guy from that comic. And it was like, who?
Yeah.
You're weird, you know? And then and it was very cool to just talk with somebody about all the stuff that I knew, which is like Cable, like old Rob Liefeld comics, G.I. Joe, big one.
G.I. Joe. Yeah.
And that was really nice. That was a nice day. And it's like, wow, this is cool, you know? Just they also asked for a collaborative picture of both of us just for this interview. And the only picture
do you have the Hulk picture?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I didn't send it, but that's the only picture with us together where I grabbed his crutch and you his knee or the other way around. It was like, I don't know.
I have that picture. I think Elise sent that to me afterwards. I asked her for it privately.
Privately. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. There was also... Huh?
Go ahead.
There was like a comic book about magic. You could buy magic comics, and I don't remember if you saw them. I was pondering to get those.
Yeah.
Those are like 20 to 30 each now. So should have
got them. Should have bought them.
Damn it! But,
I bet they're still cheap over here, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet they are.
Because it's about the cards. The cards make it pricey because they're out of.
Those were the magazines that came with the bag and the card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Fun. And but yeah, we talked a lot about toys, and just old vintage stuff like G.I. Joe, Toxic Crusaders.
Yep.
And I think you took me to Toxic Crusaders because then I worked on Mutant Gangland, which is Mutant Gangland is a game that is currently not being worked on, but it's a turn-based strategy game. And the character designs are very much Toxic Crusaders, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles inspired, like the craziness and the like the youthful stuff.
Yeah.
And like when I worked on that game, I kind of discovered like I want to take all this stuff that I had as a kid, like trying to collect toys and like the. You remember the Ninja Turtle comics book? They had like official comics. They were super dorky. Yeah, remember those?
Dorky. Yep.
Where they met like the shark Armageddon and like the Sledge from another planet or from another dimension, and he just wants his pineapple.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is actually, that's why, like when I make Mutant Gangland, I kind of discovered that I really wanted to put all that freak knowledge into something. And like when you talk about authorship, I think that's kind of the stuff that I really liked. That's what I liked about working on Mutant Gangland, and what I also like about working on this game called Eagle Strike, which is, well, we can say it's about G.I. Joe, right? Or
So
inspired.
I wanna stop you there and digress for just a second and like go a little bit more in depth to you, because I think you mentioned a really good point there, right? Is that I was always drawn to your artwork. I saw the stuff that you had done on your site, and you had worked previously on like an homage to a G.I. Joe game that you just messed around with. Remember, it was like an elevator shooter type game.
Yeah, I remember.
And then you did Pimps vs. Vampires with the same guy that you did Mutant Gangland with. But the thing that I was always what?
Bachayo.
Yeah, Bachayo. And so the thing that I was drawn to your artwork about was there's this big chunkiness to it, right? Mm-hmm. Where like the characters you draw and the way that you detail your characters, they have heft and they have weight to them, and they feel bulky, right? And I didn't really realize this until being with you in Austin and actually like, walking through this vintage toy store and looking at this old stuff is how much you were inspired by that, right? And how you look back at these figures, you look back at like He-Man toys and Transformers, everything was like this big, hefty, weighty thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even G.I. Joes were a little bit slimmer, but their vehicles and everything, they're just this like bulk to it. Like we were kicking out so much plastic in these things, right? And they just, I mean, you could kill somebody with these things. They're hefty. And I really like that kind of tied it together for me. And so I asked you that earlier question about what you really kind of carried forward, but I think really what you carried forward into your design is that love of toys, right? And that love of just the heft and weight, and these things felt so tactile and real.
Like chunkiness is something everybody says it. Like your stuff is so chunky, and I don't know where it comes from, but like when you look at, maybe my inspiration just comes from other stuff, not video games. Like video games are the stuff I can put it in, and the stuff I take it out is like toys, comics, cartoons, action figures, probably. That's it.
And I think that's it. And I think that's important to point out, right? Because especially now going into your kind of papercraft and making those papercraft toys, right? It's a real perfect fit for your design style, because it's these very boxy, heavy, cool characters that have this great look to them. So
it took so long for me to realize that I could make toys. Like I think my idea was like, well, 3D printing is coming up, so it's kind of like, well, maybe something's possible here. Yeah. But I always thought about it in terms of plastic, because that's the ideal, right? That's the holy material is plastic. If you like toys and action figures. Yeah. But then I was like, well, maybe I can just do it on paper, and then that's where the papercraft stuff comes from.
But jumping back to Eagle Strike then, like, or Project Eagle Strike as we're calling it right now,
Codename Eagle Strike.
That's right, codename Eagle Strike. I kind of we had talked before on social media just about like at some point maybe doing something together, especially after meeting in person and kind of realizing we had a lot of these similar interests, but at the time you were finishing up Penarium work, I think like the ports to Xbox One and PS4, and you had some other stuff that you were working on. I was finishing up Chrome Death, and I think towards the end of that cycle, we started talking about doing it. So we've been working together for 4 months now. Yeah. I mean, we have a playable build now that we're sharing between us. How do we you want to talk a little bit about how we kind of jam together and work, especially since we're across the world?
Yeah. I'm kind of used to talking or working with people like remotely. Mutant Gangland was also done remotely because Zappa, we should just call him Zappa because it's so much shorter. He lives in Romania. I never met him in real life, but it's funny that we're working together, because like a lot of the times when people just like, hey, I gotta go home. All right, it was nice meeting you. We should really do something together, man. And I was like, all right, man, we should do it. You always do that, right? Yep. And I'm still amazed that we're actually working together. Like, holy shit, it's happening, and that's kind of cool. And,
well, I think it took a pitch, right? It kind of took that pitch of, and a little bit of like, both of us have released games now. Yeah. Right. We've been successful in our own little spaces, so it kind of helps build it too. Right? Yeah. Hey, success is not measured by how rich you are, right? Okay. Okay. Yeah. We're both successful in our spaces, and I think that builds trust also when working with someone else. Is like, you talked about that MMO that you were going to work on way back in the day, right? And it's just like you get so excited because it's your first thing, but then at some point you realize this is not ever going to happen. No. It's a lot different when you're working with someone who like, oh, you can go play their games they put out. You see what they've worked on, and it builds a little bit more trust and credibility between the people. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. It's just like, there's so much difference between having shipped a game or not, and just knowing the struggle. And so like, oh wow, I mean, Chrome Death took you there's so much effort in it, right?
Yeah, it took a long time.
And it works. It just bloody works, the game.
Yeah.
It's just like same like I played Penarium on the PlayStation. I platinumed it. There's no platinum trophy, but I just played it all the way through, and I still can't believe really that there's a game.
Yeah.
You know, wow. Still really can't believe it. But
it's really surreal. I mean, I know there's people out there like my wife works for EA. I've talked about this before, right? So I look at kind of like the EA games that come out, and there's 200 people that work on it, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, the sound guy or the person who just kind of helped with this thing, they look at it and they're like, I helped with this, but this is a product that we shipped, right?
Yeah.
I look at I see people on the plane playing Chrome Death, and I'm just like, I'm taking a picture of that. That's my game. Like, I made that, and I was backed up by awesome people. Lux, the artist, is incredible. Jocelyn, who did the sound, VHS Glitch. Like, I put together really awesome people and got the best work out of them and was able to ship a great thing with that. But there's still so much of that is like me. And I think it's the same thing. Like, you play Penarium and you're just like, this is me, right? This is me on the screen.
Yeah. I mean, like, they gave me carte blanche, which means you could do whatever. But it has to be a circus. But just play around. And, I think you could take away everything. You could say, like, oh, he didn't do the circus, he didn't make the traps, he didn't make the everything. But like the fact that I create like a Mario-like character called Willy. That's you can take everything. Just don't take Willy. That's the one that I really like. Yeah. But coming back.
When we jam on game things together, so we would do a Skype call, once a week. We use Slack and everything to kind of work together and to share drawings and stuff back and forth.
Yeah.
But it's really good, especially like, from a developer's perspective is, I am still supporting Chrome Death, so I'm pushing out builds with that. But at the same time, I'm slowly moving more and more of my attention over to, Codename Eagle Strike.
Codename Eagle Strike.
And hopefully get to show it to people very, very soon.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's like I still can't imagine that I made the game that's now on PlayStation. Yeah. And it's so hard for me to picture a future where there's like another game, right? There's like 3 or 2 years in the future, there's like this game with like cartoon and
whatever it looks like.
Yeah, whatever it looks like. Could be comics, could be cartoonish, but it's still like so hard to imagine. But the funny thing is just like I'm never afraid to start something. Yeah. This is like, you start at the beginning, right? You make a drawing, and then you make another, and then you make a billion more, and then you have a video game.
Yep.
And I think it's kind of useful to just not realize how much work something is. Yeah. Just not being able to picture this gigantic monsterless task of doing all these things. I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna do them one by one, and
so I want to say one other thing about Codename Eagle Strike, right? And I think we'll move on to a couple other questions.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Is that like, for me, you've done bigger experiences like that, right? Like you put out a game on the consoles and PC, where a lot of my stuff has been mobile focused or it's been a lot smaller, right? And so because games are my hobby, I spent a very long time working on Chrome Death, and then I released it and it's out, right? And like with mobile, you get a couple weeks and then your base kind of moves on. And what I really want to do is, you and I, we're going to put something out that is for desktop, possibly for consoles later on, but it's a bigger experience that we will slowly just keep iterating on and working with and cultivating a base, right? Yeah. And that's really what I want to do, is find people that are really into it, and that I can iterate with and take feedback and keep going on it with, but something a little bit meatier that people can sit down and play for a while.
Yeah, and it's more ongoing, and it's just like, it's out now, and good luck with it.
Yeah.
And, Yeah. What was it? What did I want to say? I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
I think like when this game comes out, this will be probably the most big and personal thing that I worked on.
Same here. Yeah.
Yeah. So it really feels like my game,
Yes.
or our game, but also my, it's like I can put my soul in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you define the look, right? So, I mean, really, when you do look at that, or when people look at it, it's like, that is Thomas, right? That's Thomas's art. And it has that innate ability because you define the style, the design, and the art and everything. Is that when people come up and see us at a conference or see whatever, and they see these billboards, like, that is your art. Your art is so distinctive in the industry, right? And amongst other indie devs, right? That stands out in a way. So I want to move on. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just move on.
Okay. You don't want me to praise you anymore?
It's just getting hot in here.
Yeah, sorry. So I want to let's move a little bit to. I think we just have a little bit more time to talk. I want to move and talk kind of maybe about some industry things, right?
Yeah.
So specifically around like Steam and Greenlight and stuff like that. So I know you guys released Penarium on Steam. Did you have a lot of hand in that at all, or was that really handled by your publisher?
Yeah, the publisher has just a lot of connections and stuff, and they put it on Steam just like that.
Okay.
And,
so you didn't go through. What did you kind of think of? Have you guys been supporting it on Steam, or have you really gotten involved in the forums at all?
They do everything. Team 17 just takes care of almost everything, and so like customer support or like Q&A, that's all done by them.
Awesome.
Yeah. They can take care of a lot of stuff, and it's very nice for us that we've been able to focus just on making the game and shipping the game and working with a team of professionals like Team 17 has been making, I don't know what the correct tense is, but they've been working on games for as long as I live, probably.
Yeah.
And they really know how to ship games, and they really know the pitfalls and where to look. And the best thing is that they will never at one point mingle with the creative vision of the people. They will never say like, maybe you should give the character red hair, or maybe you should put it in a circus. Everything is just like, we love whatever you do, just give it to us. We'll look at the bugs and give you the bugs, and then it's up to you to just fix the bugs. And so that was really nice. They just take care of all the other, all the side things like translation. Like Q&A is a big part because there's a lot of bugs sometimes in games, and they just
yes there is.
they spot them all, and from a developer standpoint, it's really satisfying to work with them, to have worked with them, and so on Steam it was just like that. Same for PlayStation and Xbox, and go ahead. I never did a Greenlight thing or a Greenlight battle or anything like that. You did?
That's the thing. So I went through one of the games that I'm currently working on, Dead Monster Hide and Stay. I'm working that in my spare time. It's kind of this smaller personal project for me. I put that on Greenlight last year in around August time and went through the whole Greenlight process. And, it's weird going through it. I don't really understand what is the point of Greenlight anymore. In the beginning, I think that Steam was very noble in offering this way for smaller devs that didn't have publishers to kind of get on there, right? And then Steam didn't really need to worry about reaching out and kind of curating anymore. But I think at this point anymore, I don't understand what is the point of locking that away when you look at the Steam front page and half of it is mobile ports or DLC for mobile and stuff like that. It's just why are we taking kind of these smaller people that can't get a publisher or can't get whatever, making them go through this huge thing only to just get lost in the shuffle again, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to do that, might as well just open up the floodgates and let anybody publish anything they want.
Yeah, maybe that's where it's going. It's really for me, Steam seems like a black box. It's just like, hey, it's a new decision, guys. Figure it out. Okay, see you next year.
Yeah.
So, who knows? They'll open it up even more, or.
Yeah. But I think you and I have talked about, like, you know, not to be specific about kind of our strategy, right? But I mentioned earlier how we really want to kind of start small and build a base, right?
Yeah.
So I think we talked about, like, at some point getting a demo or something that is a very good, you know, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour experience that people can play, and then kind of getting that out to people, and then on some kind of, maybe not early access, but like Itch Refinery or something like that, so people can start getting feedback into it, and we can start building onto that. And so something like that, you know, Greenlight or whatever, I think it is valuable for those means. But yeah, any other thoughts about like early access or Greenlight or anything?
Me?
Yeah.
I think I could talk about it, but then we also should talk about the genre of the game, like the type of game that we're making.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about that, or?
I guess so. Well, I think so. The code name is Eagle Strike, and it's a G.I. Joe game, and it
is a homage to our deep, unending love for G.I. Joe. Yes.
Yes.
not to step on any licensee's toes by saying it is a G.I. Joe game. It is our deep love. We are definitely inspired.
Yes. But it's also, there's going to be a lot of strategy in it, right? It's a strategic game.
Yes.
And I think that experience revolves a lot around feedback.
Yeah, it does.
You know?
Yep.
And I think if there's one type of game that's perfect for, you know, being exposed to user groups and like feedback and stuff, I think it's this. Like strategy games, they need a lot of like, because there's a lot of complex systems going on, and I think early access is perfect for it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Like early access or like Itch.io Refinery, and I think those are great points you brought up. Right, is that it's really weird. I mean, I have a very small following, right? You have a little bit of a larger following, and so we could definitely give this game to friends and stuff like that and have them play them and get feedback.
Yeah.
But really, with the type of systems that we're creating, we need a lot of feedback, right? And to do that, you need to get it out to a lot of people. So we could take it and we could put it on Itch as a beta for free, right? And let people play it. But at the same time, like, I don't want to take that content that we worked really hard on and just give it away for free to people to do it. So I think that there's different ways with early access and with Refinery where you allow a small group of people to basically buy into it. But to do that, you need to come out the gate with a great product, right? This can't be 10 Unity assets that you downloaded that you put into an engine. Like, it needs to be a full experience. To do that. And I think that's why you and I both very much talk about what we're working on social media. You know, even when you're working on Penarium, you were putting drawings out there and getting feedback and stuff. And so I think we'll reach a point with that with Eagle Strike where we're doing that. But I think that we're getting together that full base experience where someone can sit down and play through it first before we kind of like start putting it out there and getting that feedback for it.
Yeah, I think I just want to, like we said, we discussed this before. I just want to, for once, not jump the shark. Is that it? Or shoot the rifle or jump the gun?
Yes. Yeah. I think all of those work. Yeah. You want to jump the shark while you're jumping the gun. Like, don't get hit by the gun and the shark at the same time. That's a bad experience, man.
That sounds bad. And there's a lot of lethal things.
Yes.
But I just want to, for once, like, I always share early and often and everything. I'm very transparent, but I kind of like would experience this for myself. Would like to do like launch with like, boom, there's this website and the characters are on it. The name is on it. There's key art. There's a cool logo. There's maybe a theme song. It's sort of a trailer. And then this is like, this is what we're working on, people. This is the secret project. And that will be cool for once as well. And that falls so in line with what you said about having like a meaty representable project. So early access is not sloppy access. It's just early access, but it looks cool already.
Yep. And I think that really goes into kind of the whole promotion method that we're thinking about for this, right? Is that, you kind of come out with that splash. And I know social media and stuff doesn't work like that, right? Where it's like a huge splash, but it's like you come out and you say like, here's what it is. Here is what you can go play right now. And then you start sending that to streamers and you start getting people actually like getting eyes on it, right? And you start pulling it in. And since you already have that demo, I go to conventions all the time. I take my stuff out there. You got this now at a convention, right? And you got actually people playing it. Another developer that I really expect, Super Duper Garrett Cooper, right? He's been in early access for a while, and his game Black Ice been constantly adding features to it, and he takes it to the conventions and gets more people in, and that was really inspiring to me to see. You can go out there and cultivate a following just by getting your game and being active with the community and really using that as a feature of the game, and that you're so accessible and you're right there building it with them.
It just keeps growing and growing, and I'm also kind of
go ahead.
Just doing feedback and stuff and just being constantly there for people is also kind of hard, probably, right? It's gonna be a challenge.
No, I think it's fun. I think there's definitely, I think in the past, there used to be ways, I think in the past it was a little bit more complicated because there were a lot of different places that people would go. So your Steam forums would have just people posting complaints and posting bugs, stuff like that. And then community, they used to, you'd start your own forum on your website and people be posting complaints there and all the different places. But I think with us, what we'll probably do is we'll have a Trello board, right? Where like people can come in and post feedback here, post stuff here. And that's something that we work through, right? I think people understand when you're one or two people making a game that you're not going to be responding right away.
No, that's true.
But I think the bigger problem is when people try to do that and then they don't hear from them for like a month or 2 months. I think that's when the problem really goes in.
Nothing will take 2 months, probably. That doesn't sound right. But,
so we actually discussed this. We talked about crowdfunding and Kickstarter and things like that. Right? I think we agreed not to do that. That wasn't necessarily the way to go. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, Kickstarters. I'm just so like for this game, I wouldn't know, but I've been pondering Kickstarters for other stuff like the robots, the papercraft robot stuff, and it's like. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. I don't know if this is kind of the game for that, or that's a tricky question.
Yeah.
I could see myself doing a Kickstarter at some point, but not necessarily for this game.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with this, right, it's like to do a Kickstarter, I think you need to kind of have that base thing also. You need to have a demo or you need to have something like that, right? And if we're doing all the work to getting to that point, we might as well just take that and put it on Steam Early Access, right? And then tell people, instead of giving me $100 for me to make a toy out of the game, right? Just go buy the game for $10 and then talk to me every day and help me make the game better.
It seems to take exactly the same amount of effort to do a Kickstarter than to do with Art Trajectory. That there's no simpler way, but the other way, what we're doing it right now with the early access stuff, is it's more for us. We get access to feedback sooner, so it's like it's also early access for people to the game, but it's also early access for us to the feedback in a way, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people. Go for it. I hear it coming.
Knowing is half the battle.
That's right. It is.
Ooh,
yes. I think also like Kickstarters have changed. When Kickstarters first came out, and I backed a lot of Kickstarters when they first came out, right? And a lot of times it was about, hey, I made some extra money doing this. I want to support other people in the indie community. And I think that people originally looked at them as a marketing tool. They looked and saw how much traffic Kickstarters were getting on big sites like Kotaku and stuff like that. And they're like, well, if we do a Kickstarter, we then have a product that will attract kind of advertising in these other places.
Yeah.
And I think what's happened is that's dried up, right?
Yeah.
They're not, because there was this huge glut of them. Now sites aren't covering as much, and you're actually seeing Kickstarters drop down, right?
Yeah. I mean, everything gets harder the more people jump on it, right? Like it's same with storefronts, Kickstarters. Like if you're one of the first people that do it, there's like this, like maybe I'm not saying we're too late for Kickstarter, but it's harder for us than it would be for us if we did it 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I also, that's kind of eye opener. I saw a Kickstarter for like plush toys, and it was just like, there's no rewards. This is the amount of pledge. Your pledge is $25.
Yeah.
No higher, no lower. You get the toy. That's it. And it's just like, once I reach 1,000 or 5,000 bucks, that's it. And then everybody gets a toy. There's just one reward. And the reward.
Yeah, and see, I think that's really cool, right? Because there's definitely things that couldn't be made unless the interest was already there, right? So there's a pinball game company out there that makes video pinball, right? And whenever they want to do a new table, like they want to do a Terminator table or whatever, they go do a Kickstarter or they go whatever and say, hey, we want to make this, but to get the license, it's going to cost us this much money. So if you want it, everybody pay $5. It'll get us the license, and then we'll sell you you'll get the game. I think those are really good, right? I think that's really.
And the idea, it's just like, it sounds so attractive. Like it's just so cool that you live in an age where like, I have this thing, and if enough people like it, I can just, I can just get to make it. Yeah. That's kind of nice. That's so cool.
So I want to kind of like move to a kind of a wrap up here. And talk about like what is your greatest achievement so far as a game developer? So like looking back on everything you've done, what's that one moment that you're really proud of?
Well, I like for all the games I try to make, I don't really finish a lot. So actually having finished a game is so big for me. Yeah. And
it's a powerful thing. I mean, even in this industry, it is a very, very powerful thing.
Yeah.
To actually finish something.
Yeah. And I still can't believe it, really. Like, so yeah, I worked on Penarium. I didn't make Penarium. I was one of the people that worked on Penarium. Yeah. And just playing the game on a PlayStation, like in the store. Yeah. Although I have to say, for me, when I did it, it didn't really have that magic reward feeling the first time I did it. It's just like, oh cool, it's here now. Checkbox marked. It was like that more than it's like, there was no redemption. Yeah. Not that moment, but just the idea like ongoing afterwards, like, it's out there. Because it always used to be like, oh, what are you doing? What do you do? I make games. All right. Yeah. So tell me, what's, and now I can select, do you have a PlayStation? Do you have a PC? Look it up. It's right there, Uncle Benny. Just look it up. Yeah. And that's really cool. For me, I'm really proud to be, and it's just this small part of Lethal League. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We didn't talk about that at all, but. Yeah,
I'm so proud to be just a small part of it, because I know the guys that made the game. They worked on. We were classmates. Yeah. And they just, when we were still in school, they came up to me and like, oh, do you want to work with us? Do you want to start a company? And we're looking for folks. And I was like, I don't know, man. I haven't started myself out right now, and I wasn't ready for it. And then they made one game, and I liked that one. And then they were working on a new game with like a baseball, and they hit each other, and I was like, this is gold. I could just feel that was gold. And I wanted to be part of that, and they just had me make a level. I really feel like they allowed me to make a level. Yeah. And they put it in, and it was just, wow, that game is so cool.
Yep.
Because like, it just feels like fan art that was taken into the canon,
Yeah.
something like that. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really just like, wow. Sometimes people, rarely, but sometimes it happens. Like, did you make Lethal League?
Yes.
And I have to say, like, no, technically I didn't make it. I just did one level, and I just want to say, like, yeah, I did it. That was me. But it wasn't. I'm so proud to be part of it, and I think that feels like one of the biggest achievements.
Yeah, for me, it's like, I put out a bunch of jam games. A couple of years ago, I made like 14 games in a year. And then after that, I kind of moved into bigger, experiences. Like,
wait, 14 games in a year?
Yeah, in 2014, I think I put out 14 jam games in 1 year. I mean, so most of them were like 4 to 5 hours, right? Like, I would work on it for 4 to 5 hours and be done. But I think for me, like, fan feedback is the best thing to me, right? I'll put a game out and I'll put it on Game Jolt, and a week later 40 people have played it, but there'll be one comment on there where one person like really gets into it. And I talked about in the beginning of this interview how, like, for me, what I really carried forward for my youth is putting things into my game that are me, right? And so that authorship. So when I see a message or a comment that is just like, hey, I really thought about this, and I kind of thought about it after I stopped playing it, and I think this is what the game is about. Like, that's really important to me. Also, when I go out to PAX and stuff like that and show my games and I meet fans and then I get emails later about it, like, to me, that is super awesome. It's kind of weird. Like, I've actually thought about making a game that is, about a person who is getting on in their life, and they keep putting pieces of them in the games, and that's how they basically live forever, right? And that's how I think about it.
Is that a game idea?
It is a game idea, yes.
That's cool. We should do that next.
We'll have to cut this out, though. But I mean, that's really what I'm doing with my games, is each game is a little bit a piece of me, and when someone takes that and understands it and understands a small piece of me, I feel more validated in life, right? And it just brings me warmth through that validation. So
I feel like you could never make enough games to tell all of you, right?
No, yeah. I mean, we're very complex people, but I think, like Den Monster Hide and Seek, the last thing that I'm working on, really is kind of that culmination of it. Is okay, I've kind of wrapped up this whole story for 3 years, where every little game I put out, whether it was Hope or even Minions XXX, right? There's a little bit of that of me in there. So one other thing I want to turn to, just kind of as we close off, is like, what do you think about the indie game industry right now and kind of what we're going through?
Well, one of the reasons I kind of hesitated to do this interview is because I don't really consider myself indie. Like, I just make art, and sometimes they're in games. So I'm not. The industry. Another deep question. Oh my.
I'll wrap real quick then for you. So, I think a couple of years ago we kind of went through this big boom, right? Where Super Meat Boy and stuff like that, like, really blew up, and we kind of discovered that, there are people out there who just want to play games, right? They don't necessarily care if 500 people made that game or 2 people made that game. They just want to play games, right? And they love games. They love game culture. And so a lot of very creative people that made Super Meat Boy, other games, Braid and stuff like that, they were at the right place at the right time, and they were super smart, and they made these really great experiences that blew up, right? And I think everybody else kind of looked at that as a gold rush. And at the same time, tools got democratized to the point where anybody can go make a game now. Anybody can make a game and put it out, right? And I think what's kind of the same thing that's happened to music with places like Bandcamp is you can't just go make a game and throw it on Steam and have 5 million people put it out. The same way that as a musician, you can't just make an album, throw it on iTunes, which anybody can do now, and make 1 million, right? What you actually need to do is you need to cultivate a following. and you need to understand how to cultivate that following, right? So you now have the tools to do whatever you want. If I was a musician, everybody has access to Pro Tools. Anybody can make music however they want. Anybody can make games now however they want. But the onus is still on you to basically find your market within the bigger indie industry. And I think there's still a lot of people that are really resistant to that. They're really kind of looking back to these luminaries of the industry, right? These indies that put out a game at the right time, right place that was a great game and just really snowballed. And they say, like, where's my attention? Where's my traffic? Where are people boosting me up? And it's like, no, you still need that hard work. That hard work and is the same as it was 20 years ago as it is now. Is you need to bust your ass because the sea is just as filled as it was, you know, back in the day. It's just easier to get into that sea.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this in Texas, where like sometimes people play the game just because the person made them. Like, oh wait, the new game, like the Davey Braben, he announced his game 1 week before we released it, and it was like the beginner's guide, which I played. A lot of people said, okay, real talk. A lot of people said it was super depressing. Remember that one?
Yes.
Did you play it?
I got through part of it. I did not finish the whole thing.
It was so uplifting. It was like, I wouldn't say life-changing, but playing that game really, like, wow, making games is so cool. A lot of other people say, like, wow, this is so depressing. I just don't feel like playing video games or sleeping anymore or showering or anything. But for me, I just took it like so differently. But anyway, I think that game is played because he made it. You know, like, I'm curious what he comes up with next. And same guy for the guy with Paper Please is like, you know, I just want to see what he's making after Paper Please, because there's this authorship you again mentioned, like, what's he gonna come up with and what's gonna come out of his mind, and I think that there's gonna be this place where people play games because of who makes them, I think, and the good news is that it's a crowded sea. I mean, the bad news is it's crowded, but I think there is a place for everybody. Yeah. And if you found your folks, then that's enough. Yeah. Probably. And I think it's about finding your people.
Yeah, it is. I think I want to touch on that one more thing, is that, like, I think that's 100% right. It's about finding the people, right? And then cultivating those people, right? So that they multiply. And I think you look back at, like, the way Epic Games used to do things with Unreal is they get you to buy Unreal and then they would just start pumping out free content for that, right? Yeah. And you would come back every week to check out what the new map was, and they really kind of got in with their community and gave them free content and worked with them, and that community grew, right? I think that you know, we are definitely, you know, we have a love for G.I. Joe. We hope that other people out there who have a love for G.I. Joe will be drawn to our game. I mean, we're also making, you know, a strategic RPG. We hope that people out there that like RPGs will be drawn to our game. Spoiler. Right? And so we find those people, right? And then we start cultivating them. And so our audience, or our, you know, pool for this game is not 5 million people. It's maybe it starts at 500 people. Maybe it grows to 1,000 then, right? But then because we're so close with those people, we turn them into disciples for the game, and we turn them into people that really like this experience and really like us, and then we can carry that forward. And everybody wins in that situation, right? I as a developer win, you as the developer win, and the consumer wins, right? The consumer wins from that. Yeah,
I mean, one fear is that, like, my fear about this project, you and me are good. This game is gonna come, it's gonna finish, I'm sure of that. But like, I just linked you that article yesterday about biker mice from Mars. The article just said, like, hey, old people, here's a biker mice from Mars game. And it's like, oh damn, you know, what about all those millions of people who are not 30 or over? You know, are are they gonna like this game? Are they gonna see G.I. Joe and think like, yeah, or is it like, do they even appreciate all the cartoon goofiness, or not? I'm still trying to feel what kind of the user group is and who would like this stuff. I would like something.
But it's definitely something that goes into our talks, right? When we talk about this and talk about how to market this, right? We had that conversation when we actually talked about art styles. On your last game, you did pixel art. You've done a lot of pixel art before. There's a lot of pixel art games out there. I do pixel art. I still do it, right? And so this game isn't necessarily pixel art, right? And so we really, or right now, right? Our early drawings on it. So we really talked about, how do you stand out? Maybe they don't like G.I. Joe. Maybe they're not a big fan of strategy RPGs. You know what? But maybe they like really cool art, right? And they like engaging games that bring them back every day, and they have something fun to kind of do for 5 minutes and then be done with the game, So there's a lot of different ways that we can take an experience like this and do it. But these are all things you have to think about as you're making your game before you're doing it, right? It used to be like, I'm going to make a game. Okay, my game's done. I spent 3 years. Now, how do I get people to do it? And really, you need to start thinking about that before the game. You need to start thinking, how am I going to get people to look at this? How am I going to get streamers to start playing this and checking it out, right? Yeah. How are my different small pools? How am I going to pull them together in a bigger pool? Like, how am I going to get people that love G.I. Joe and people that love strategy RPGs? Yeah. Maybe I'm going to get people that like fighting games a little bit, right, in there too. And then how do I make that pool bigger?
I guess so. I mean, I like it. It's funny because like the games from the Gold Rush, they seem to be made so without consideration for anybody. They just like, Braid is just like, it's just the game he wanted to make, and he just put it out there, and it was like hugely successful because there was a lot of coverage. He wasn't lucky. I mean, it's a very good game. Yeah. But I wonder how much those people who did the Gold Rush, like let's just call it the Indie Gold Rush, right? Like Braid, Super Meat Boy, and I'm just curious how much those people considered reception.
So I think that, I'm not them, right? And I'm not going to speak for them, but you look at Super Meat Boy and stuff like that. You look at the stuff that he did before that. Yeah. And he was making Flash games, right? Like this was not his first game out there. No. He wasn't doing it. He was doing the same thing. He was cultivating this audience that loved his weird stuff. And it goes back to authorship, right? It goes back to, he found an audience that really loved what he was making. And he cultivated that. And I think it's the exact same thing, is that we have audiences that like our stuff, but at the same time, we want to make bigger audiences, right? If Super Meat Boy would have came out and maybe only 100,000 people played it, he would have still been happy, right? Because he made this great game that did this. So I think that nowadays, though, with the way, even in the last 4 years, the way that indie games gets covered has changed drastically. Yeah. I think you do need to be thinking about that at the beginning. Is you need to think about, who is this for? Now, we could make a game that nobody buys, right? And we could 100% stick to authorship.
My mom would buy it. My mom would buy it.
my mom would buy it too. But I think you can have that authorship, but at the same time, I want other people to experience this. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to figure out how people can experience this game. I'm making Den Monster Hide and Stick that nobody's going to play because of the way that it is, and I'm okay with that. And I'm okay putting myself out there like that. But I want people to play this, and I want something that people are like, this is awesome. I want to tell other people about it, but I still want it to speak to who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I played it. I saw it. I saw the latest footage. Yeah. And I kind of, it just evokes that early, Prince of Persia, Another World, flashback mystery, Yeah. You got something going. So yes. Thumbs up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, all it's really cool.
Thank you. Nice so one last thing, man. Yeah. Any messages for other indie devs out there? Besides knowing is half the battle?
Middle finger. Any match? Go fuck. No, sorry. No, sorry. Any... Jeez. Any messages? Well, like I think it's what I said before, like, your people exist. Like, your crowd is out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And just find them. I guess so. I guess that's it. What would you say?
Besides knowing is half the battle, I think I'd kind of say the same thing. Like the two things that I really kind of always drive in is what the customer is always right and the customer is awesome. And sometimes the customer sucks and the way that they critique your game sucks, right? And the way that they interact with you online sucks, right? But understand that the way that you respond to that customer and the way that you talk to that consumer is going to reflect on you with other consumers that don't talk to you that way.
Yeah.
Right. And so
true.
Other consumers are out there, and when they see someone harass you or when they see someone say, your game fucking blows, I'm never going to play it, and you respond bad to that, they don't actually side with you. They're actually siding with that consumer. Right. And understanding that how you speak and how you talk to people, it's never okay to harass somebody, right? And it's never okay to like abuse someone online or in real life, but just understanding that the way that you handle situations affects other things. And then the second thing is, find your market, right? Find somewhere out there is a pool of fish swimming around that cannot wait for your game to go in there and to play, right? And you need to work to find that.
I want to say more, but this just sounds so epic. It sounds so like Independence Day speechy. So
it's okay.
Is there anything more on the list?
No, I think that's it.
These are the questions?
Yeah, that was the questions, man.
Wow. So
we want to go ahead and sign off then. Just once again, I'm Michael Short. Thank you for talking today, Thomas. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.
I look forward to talking about our game more in public.
Yes. It's going to take a while, but it'll
be there
come.
eventually.
Yes.
It's going to come.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, man.
So now we hang up.
Thank you for watching this show. If you enjoyed it, please consider watching some of our other videos and maybe sharing them or giving a thumbs up if you feel like it. And if you really liked what you saw, please check out our Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you could help us make much better shows and get some rewards in the process.